The warning lights flashed red across the shuttle's control panel as Jake Mitchell fought to keep his craft steady. Sparks flew from the damaged navigation system, while the engine made horrible grinding noises. Through the view screen, the green and blue planet below grew larger and larger. "Come on, you piece of junk," Jake muttered, pulling hard on the controls. "Just get me down in one piece." The shuttle hit the atmosphere with a violent shake. Jake's teeth rattled as the small craft bounced and spun through the thick air. Trees rushed up to meet him faster than he liked. He braced for impact. Crash! Metal screamed against rock. The shuttle slid through dirt and bushes before finally stopping against a large boulder. Steam rose from the broken engine. Jake sat still for a moment, checking if all his parts still worked. His head hurt and his left shoulder felt sore, but nothing seemed broken. "Well, that could have been worse," he said to the empty cockpit. Jake unbuckled his safety harness and moved to the back of the shuttle. His gear was scattered everywhere, but most of it looked okay. He grabbed his survival pack, weapon, and emergency beacon. The beacon screen showed a big crack right down the middle. "Perfect," Jake sighed. "Just perfect." He pressed the power button. Nothing happened. He hit it harder. Still nothing. The beacon was completely dead. Without it, his rescue team would never find him on this huge planet. Jake pushed open the shuttle's damaged door and stepped outside. The air smelled sweet, like flowers mixed with something he could not name. Two suns hung in the purple sky, making everything look strange and beautiful. Tall trees with silver leaves grew everywhere, and their branches held glowing blue fruits. The silence felt wrong. No birds singing, no insects buzzing, just the sound of wind through the strange trees. Jake checked his wrist computer. According to his mission files, this planet was called Valora Prime. The locals were called Villani, tall, smart beings who looked mostly human but had better senses and could read minds. His job was supposed to be simple: fly over their cities, take some pictures, and go home. Instead, he was stuck here for at least 3 weeks until his next scheduled check-in. 3 weeks on an alien planet with mind-reading locals, Jake said to himself. What could go wrong? He spent the next hour going through the shuttle wreck. The food supplies were okay, and he found some useful tools, but the communication system was fried, and the engines were totally destroyed. He was definitely not flying. Out of here. As Jake worked, he noticed something odd. The trees around his crash site were arranged in perfect circles. The blue fruits all faced the same direction. Even the rocks seemed to follow some kind of pattern. This was not natural. A stick snapped in the forest behind him. Jake froze. His hand moved slowly to his weapon. Years of military training kicked in as he listened carefully. Another sound, like soft footsteps on leaves. Something was definitely out there watching him. Moving quietly, Jake crept to the edge of the clearing and looked into the trees. At first he saw nothing. Then a flash of movement caught his eye. Something tall and graceful slipped between the silver trees, staying just out of clear sight. Then he saw them properly. 4 figures stood at the forest edge, barely hidden by the strange trees. They looked like tall, beautiful women, but clearly not human. Their skin had a slight blue tint, and their eyes seemed to glow with soft light. They wore simple clothes made from some kind of shiny material. Each one was different. One had short, dark hair. Another had long, silver hair that moved like water. A third looked strong like a warrior, and the fourth seemed younger with bright, curious eyes. What made Jake's blood run cold was how they were looking at him. Their glowing eyes were fixed on him with an intensity that made him very uncomfortable. It was not the look of someone meeting a stranger. It was the look of a hunter studying prey. The dark-haired one pointed at Jake and said something in a musical language he did not understand. The others nodded and spread out, moving to surround his position. Their movements were smooth and coordinated, like a military unit. "Oh, hell no," Jake whispered. Every instinct screamed danger. He had no idea what these aliens wanted, but their behavior looked a lot like a hunting pack preparing to attack. Jake quickly grabbed his gear and slipped into the forest on the opposite side of the clearing. Behind him he heard soft voices speaking in that musical alien language. They sounded excited, almost happy. That worried him even more. Jake moved as quietly as possible through the silver trees. The forest was thick, with lots of places to hide. His military training in survival and evasion would have to keep him alive until rescue came. What Jake did not know was that his arrival had terrible timing. The Villani mating season happened only once every few years, and it had just begun. Unmated females became very aggressive during this time, hunting for the strongest and most interesting males they could find, and Jake, with his strange alien scent and unusual appearance, had just become the most interesting thing on the entire planet. The four huntresses, Kira, Luna, Vera, and Nyx, watched the human disappear into their forest. They had never encountered anything like him before. His smell was completely different from any male they knew. His movements were careful and smart. Most interesting of all, their telepathic senses could barely touch his mind, like he had natural shields. "This one will be fun to hunt," Kira said with a smile. "Very fun," agreed Luna, already picking up his trail. In the forest, Jake found a good hiding spot behind some large rocks and tried to think. He was alone on an alien world, being hunted by beings he did not understand, with no way to call for help. "Well, Jake," he said quietly to himself, "looks like you are going to earn your pay this time." He checked his weapon, organized his gear, and started planning his survival strategy. The hunt was about to begin. Jake spent his first night on Valora Prime, hiding in a cave he found deep in the crystal forest. The cave was small but dry, and thick bushes covered the entrance. He ate some emergency food from his pack and tried to sleep, but every small sound made him wake up. When the two suns rose, Jake carefully looked outside. The forest seemed empty, but he knew better. Those four alien females were still out there, somewhere, looking for him. He needed a plan. Jake opened his survival manual and read the section about evading enemy forces. Step 1. Never stay in the same place too long. Step 2. Leave false trails to confuse trackers. Step 3. Find high ground to watch for enemies. "Okay," Jake whispered. "Time to play hide and seek with aliens." He packed his gear and left the cave, but not before doing something clever. Jake took some of his old clothes and rubbed them on rocks and trees near a stream that went in the wrong direction. If the aliens were tracking his smell, this might send them the wrong way. Then he climbed up into the tall silver trees. The branches were strong enough to hold his weight, and moving through the treetops would not leave tracks on the ground. Jake moved from tree to tree like a monkey, heading toward some rocky hills he had seen yesterday. Behind him, the four Villani huntresses had found his cave. "He was here," said Luna, kneeling down and sniffing the ground. Her tracking senses were the best among her people, but his scent goes in two directions. Kira, the leader, studied the false trail Jake had made. She touched the clothes he had rubbed on the trees and smiled. "Clever. This human is smarter than most prey." "Should we follow the false trail?" asked Vera, the warrior. She was eager to chase and catch this strange male. "No," said Nyx, the youngest. Her psychic powers were strong, even if she could not read the human's mind clearly. "He went up." She pointed to the trees above them. "Very clever," Kira said with growing respect. "He knows we can track his scent on the ground, so he took to the trees. I like this one already." The four females looked at each other with excitement. Most males during mating season either ran away screaming or tried to impress them with stupid displays of strength. This human was different. He was thinking, planning, fighting back in interesting ways. "This will be the best hunt ever," Luna said happily. Meanwhile, Jake had reached the rocky hills. He found a good spot between two large boulders where he could see the forest below. Through his binoculars, he watched the four aliens searching the area around his old cave. Jake studied them carefully. The dark-haired one seemed to be the leader. She gave orders, and the others listened. The one with silver hair moved like a hunter, always smelling the ground and looking for tracks. The muscular one looked dangerous, like a soldier. The youngest one kept touching things and closing her eyes, like she was sensing something. "Great," Jake muttered. "A leader, a tracker, a fighter. and what looks like a psychic. Just my luck. He watched them split up to search different areas. Their movements were coordinated and professional. These were not just random aliens. They were skilled hunters working as a team. Jake decided to make things more interesting. If they wanted to hunt him, he would give them a real challenge. He spent the morning setting up his first trap. Using rope from his pack and some heavy rocks, Jake built a simple snare near a water source. He knew the aliens would need to drink eventually. The trap would not hurt them, just tangle them up long enough for him to get away. Then he did something that surprised even himself. Jake left a message. Using rocks and sticks, he arranged symbols near the trap. A circle for the planet, 4 lines for the alien females, and 1 line pointing away from them. Him running. At the bottom, he drew a smiling face. It was his way of saying, "This is a game, and I am having fun too." When Luna found the trap 2 hours later, she called the others over. They studied Jake's message for a long time. "He is talking to us," Nick said with wonder. "This human knows we are intelligent. He is not just running in fear." "Look at this trap," Vera said, examining the rope and rocks. "It would not hurt us, just slow us down. He could have made something dangerous, but he chose not to." Kira picked up one of the rocks from Jake's message and turned it over in her hands. "This male is more interesting every hour. He thinks like a warrior, but he shows mercy like a wise leader." "I want to catch him even more now," Luna said, her eyes bright with excitement. They carefully disabled Jake's trap and left their own message. Using the same rocks and sticks, they arranged new symbols, 4 circles close together, themselves as a team. 1 larger circle separate from the others, Jake, and lines connecting all the circles together. Their message meant, "We are not enemies. We want to be together." But Jake, when he found their reply, did not understand their alien symbols. To him, it looked like 4 hunters claiming territory and warning him to stay away. "Well, if that is how you want to play," Jake said to himself. He built more traps, clever ones that used the alien trees and rocks in ways the Villani had never seen before. Pitfalls covered with leaves, tripwires that dropped nets, false paths that led to dead ends. But Jake also kept leaving messages, pictures drawn in the dirt, patterns made with stones. He was trying to communicate even though he did not understand what the aliens were trying to tell him. The Villani females found each trap and message with growing amazement. This human was showing them levels of creativity and intelligence they had never seen in a male. He was not just running, he was engaging with them, challenging them, almost like he was courting them in his own strange way. "Sisters," Kira said as they gathered that evening to plan their next move. "I think this human does not understand our intentions." "What do you mean?" asked Vera. "He builds traps that do not harm us. He leaves messages like he wants to talk. But he keeps running like he thinks we want to hurt him." Nix nodded slowly. "His mind feels confused when I try to touch it. Scared, but also excited. Like he thinks this is some kind of war game. Then we need to show him this is not war," Luna said. "This is courtship." "But how?" asked Vera. "He does not understand our language or our customs," Kira smiled. "The same way he is trying to talk to us, with actions, not words. We need to show him we mean no harm. And we need to show him how impressed we are," added Nix. "No male has ever challenged us like this before." The 4 huntresses made a new plan. Instead of trying to trap Jake, they would leave him gifts, food, useful tools, things that showed they cared about his welfare. Maybe then he would understand their true intentions. High up in his rocky hiding place, Jake watched the aliens through his binoculars as they talked, together in their musical language. He could not hear their words, but their body language looked less aggressive than before. "What are you 4 planning now?" he wondered aloud. Jake had no idea that he had just become the most sought-after male on the entire planet. Or that 4 of the most skilled huntresses in Villani history were falling in love with his clever human mind. The hunt was becoming something much more complicated than either side had expected. Jake woke up on his 4th day on Valora Prime to find a pile of strange fruits outside his latest hiding spot. The fruits were perfectly arranged in a neat circle, and they smelled amazing. His stomach growled loudly. His emergency food was running low. He looked around carefully before approaching the gift. No sign of the 4 alien females anywhere. Jake picked up one of the fruits and examined it. It looked safe, and his scanner showed it was not poisonous to humans. Either they are trying to poison me, or they are being nice, Jake said to himself. I am too hungry to care which one. The fruit tasted incredible, sweet like honey but with a fresh, clean flavor. Jake ate 3 of them and felt more energetic than he had in days. As he finished eating, he noticed something else. A small pile of useful items sat next to where the fruits had been. Clean water in a metal container, some kind of healing paste, and what looked like a better rope than the one in his pack. Okay, that is definitely not how you treat someone you want to hurt, Jake muttered. He was starting to think maybe these aliens did not want to harm him after all. But if they were being friendly, why were they still hunting him? And why did they look at him like that, with such intense, focused attention? Jake decided to test something. He took some of the healing paste and used it to draw symbols on a flat rock. A stick figure of himself, then 4 stick figures of the aliens, then a question mark. He left the rock where they would find it, along with some of his own emergency food bars as a return gift. Then he moved to a new hiding spot and waited. The Valani huntresses found Jake's message within an hour. Look at this, Kira said, studying. The rock painting. He is asking who we are. And he left food for us, Luna added, sniffing the strange human food bars. He understands gift-giving. This is very good, Nix said happily. He is starting to trust us. Vera took a bite of the food bar and made a face. How do humans eat this dry stuff? It tastes like tree bark. It is survival food, Kira explained. He is sharing his precious supplies with us. This shows great generosity. They left their own reply, using the healing paste to draw on another rock. 4 female figures, then symbols showing the hunt, then hearts around the image of Jake. They tried to show that they were hunting him because they liked him, not because they wanted to hurt him. But when Jake found their message, he saw something different. To his human eyes, the hearts looked like targets, and the hunting symbols looked threatening. Great, Jake sighed. They are telling me I am their primary target, at least they are honest about it. Jake decided to step up his game. If these aliens wanted a real hunt, he would give them one they would never forget. He spent the next 2 days building his masterpiece, a fortress hidden inside a group of large crystal formations. Jake used his engineering skills to create a maze of tunnels and secret passages. He built false walls, hidden doors, and escape routes that only he knew about. The entrance looked like a simple cave, but inside was a complex network of rooms and corridors. Jake set up tripwires that would ring small bells to warn him when someone entered. He created fake dead ends that were actually secret passages. He even built a periscope using mirrors so he could watch the entrance from deep inside his fortress. Let us see them figure this out, Jake said proudly as he finished his work. But Jake also did something else. In the main chamber of his fortress, he created something beautiful. Using the glowing fruits and crystal formations, he built a garden. He arranged everything carefully, making patterns that were pleasing to look at. In the center, he placed more message stones with drawings showing his respect for his pursuers. The drawings showed the 4 aliens as skilled hunters. He drew pictures of their clever tracking, their teamwork, their intelligence. Jake was trying to say that even though he was running from them, he respected their abilities. When the Valani huntresses found Jake's fortress, they were amazed. Look at this construction, Vera said in wonder, running her hands along the smooth walls. He built this in just 2 days? The engineering is incredible, Kira agreed. These passages are designed perfectly for defense and escape. Luna was sniffing around the tunnels. His scent goes everywhere and nowhere. Even I cannot tell which way he went. But it was Nix who found the garden chamber. She called the others over, and they all stood in silence looking at Jake's artwork. He made this for us, Nix whispered. Look at these drawings. He sees us as equals, as worthy opponents. No male has ever honored us like this, Vera said softly. This human understands. The beauty of the hunt, Kira added. He appreciates the game we are playing. The four huntresses spent hours exploring every part of Jake's fortress. They found all his clever tricks, his hidden passages, his escape routes. Each discovery made them more impressed with his creativity and intelligence. Sisters, Luna said, as they gathered in the garden chamber, this male is extraordinary. He thinks like an engineer, fights like a warrior, and creates like an artist. And he keeps getting better, Nix added. Each day his traps are more clever, his messages more thoughtful. I have never met a male like this, Vera admitted. He makes me want to be better too, to match his skills. Kira nodded. We need to show him that we can match his creativity. If he wants to play games, we will play games that will amaze him. They left Jake the most elaborate gift yet. Using their own skills, they created a sculpture in his garden chamber. They carved symbols in the crystal walls that told the story of their hunt, but as a tale of admiration, not aggression. They left rare foods, beautiful objects, and tools that would help him survive. Most importantly, they left a clear message. Using pictures and symbols, they showed Jake that they wanted to meet him face to face, to talk instead of chase. But they also left him a challenge. Hidden throughout his fortress, they placed 4 small puzzles. Each puzzle could only be solved using different types of intelligence: strategy, creativity, physical skill, and intuition. If Jake could solve all 4 puzzles, they would know he was truly worthy of their attention. When Jake returned to his fortress and found what they had done, he was speechless. The sculpture was beautiful, clearly made by skilled artists. The gifts were generous and thoughtful, and the puzzles, they are testing me, Jake realized. Not hunting me, testing me. He spent the next day working on the puzzles. The strategy puzzle was like a complex chess problem. The creativity puzzle required him to make art using the materials they had left. The physical puzzle was about moving heavy objects in the right sequence. The intuition puzzle seemed to require him to understand Villani culture and emotions. As Jake worked on each puzzle, he began to understand something important. These aliens were not his enemies. They were evaluating him, judging his worth, seeing if he was good enough for something. What do you four want from me? Jake asked. The empty fortress. He was starting to suspect the answer might be something he had never expected, something that made him both nervous and excited. Outside the fortress, hidden where Jake could not see them, the 4 Villani huntresses watched him work on their puzzles through the crystal walls. They could see his concentration, his determination, his growing understanding. He is solving them, Luna whispered excitedly. All of them, Vera added with pride. This human is perfect, Nix said softly. Yes, Kira agreed. He is the one we have been waiting for. The game was about to change in ways neither side fully understood yet. Jake finished the last puzzle, just as the 2 suns began to set on his 6th day on Valora Prime. The intuition puzzle had been the hardest. He had to arrange colored stones in a pattern that somehow represented emotions and relationships. He was not sure if he got it right, but he had done his best. As he placed the final stone, something amazing happened. The crystal walls around him began to glow with soft, warm light. The light pulsed gently, like a heartbeat, and Jake felt a strange tingling in his mind. Then he heard a voice inside his head. Do not be afraid, human. I am Nix. I am speaking to your mind. Jake jumped and reached for his weapon, but the voice continued, sounding gentle and non-threatening. Please do not run. We need to talk. There has been a great misunderstanding. What are you? Jake said aloud, looking around the glowing chamber. I am the youngest of the 4 who have been following you. My sisters and I, we are not hunting you to harm you. We have been trying to court you. Court me? Jake asked, confused. Like dating? Yes, but more formal. In our culture, when we find a male who interests us, we test his intelligence, his creativity, his survival skills. You have passed every test with great success. Jake sat down heavily on a crystal formation. You mean all this chasing and hiding and puzzle solving was romance? The most exciting romance any of us have ever experienced. You have impressed us beyond words, Jake Mitchell. How do you know my name? We searched your crashed shuttle. We learned about your people, your military, your mission. We know you are a soldier sent to observe our world. Jake felt embarrassed and confused. I thought you were trying to capture me for some alien experiment or something. Nix's mental laughter was like soft music in his mind. We were trying to capture your heart, not your body. Though we would like both if you are willing. This is insane, Jake muttered. 4 alien women have been flirting with me by hunting me through a forest. It is our way, but we see now that humans court differently. Will you meet with us? Face to face? We promise you will be safe. Jake thought about it. These aliens, Nix and her sisters, had given him gifts, created art for him, challenged his mind with puzzles. They had never actually tried to hurt him, even when they could have. Maybe it was time to take a chance. Okay, Jake said, but somewhere open, where I can see you all clearly. Come to the meadow where the silver stream meets the crystal rocks. We will wait for you there. Jake packed his gear and left his fortress. The meadow was not far away, and he knew the area well from his travels. As he approached, he saw 4 figures sitting by the stream, looking relaxed and peaceful. They were even more beautiful than he had realized. Up close, Jake could see the subtle differences between them. Kira, the leader, had strong, intelligent eyes and confident posture. Luna, the tracker, moved with fluid grace and had an alert, aware expression. Vera, the warrior, was tall and muscular but had a surprisingly gentle smile. Nix, the youngest, looked at him with curious, friendly eyes that seemed to glow with inner light. Hello, Jake, Kira said in accented but clear English. Thank you for trusting us enough to come. You speak my language? Jake asked, surprised. We are fast learners, Luna said with a grin. We have been studying your speech patterns from the words you spoke while building your traps. And Nix has been touching your surface thoughts, Vera added. Not deeply, we respect privacy, but enough to understand some basic concepts. Jake sat down across from them, still feeling cautious but no longer afraid. So this whole week has been... what exactly? A courtship hunt, Nix explained. In our culture, unmated females compete for the attention of interesting males during mating season, but we have never found a male worth competing for. Until you, Kira continued. Your intelligence, your creativity, your survival skills, they fascinate us. The way you adapted to our world, learned our patterns, challenged us in return, it was incredible. We have been friends since childhood, Luna said. We decided not to compete against each other for you. Instead, we want to share. Jake's face turned red. Share. You mean all 4 of you want to... with me? At the same time? The 4 Villani women looked at each other and laughed, a sound like musical bells. Humans are so funny about relationships, Vera said. Why should love be limited to just 2 people if everyone agrees? But we are getting ahead of ourselves, Kira said diplomatically. First, we just want to be friends, to understand each other better. Jake was still processing all this when a loud roar echoed across the meadow. Everyone turned to see something terrible emerging from the forest. A massive creature with 6 legs, razor-sharp claws, and glowing red eyes. It was twice the size of a bear and looked very angry. Rock Stalker, Luna shouted, jumping to her feet. They are supposed to be hibernating this season. The creature charged toward them with frightening speed. Jake pulled out his weapon and started shooting, but his energy blasts barely slowed the monster down. Our weapons are back at the village, Vera said, preparing to fight with just her bare hands. Jake quickly analyzed the situation. The creature was fast but clumsy. The ground around the stream was soft and muddy. He had an idea. Luna, can you get it to chase you toward those rocks? Jake shouted. Vera, Nix, help me move these fallen logs. Kira, I need you to distract it when I give the signal. Without hesitation, The 4 Vallani women followed Jake's orders. Luna ran toward the rocks, making noise to attract the creature's attention. Vera and Nyx helped Jake position heavy logs across the creature's path. Kira picked up stones and threw them at the monster's head. "Now!" Jake yelled. The rockstalker charged after Luna, hit Jake's log trap, and tumbled forward into the soft mud by the stream. Before it could get up, Jake jumped on its back and used his combat knife to hit a weak spot behind its head. The creature collapsed, unconscious, but not dead. "That was brilliant," Nyx said, her eyes bright with excitement. "You turned our individual skills into a team strategy in seconds," Kira added with admiration. "And you took the most dangerous position yourself," Vera noted approvingly. "You protected us while leading the attack." Jake helped Luna climb down from the rocks where she had taken shelter. "Are you okay?" "More than okay," Luna said with a huge smile. "That was the most exciting fight I have ever been in." As they all sat by the stream, catching their breath, Jake realized something important had changed. The 4 Vallani women were looking at him differently now, not just with attraction, but with deep respect and trust. "You know," Jake said slowly, "maybe this whole courtship thing is not so crazy after all. You 4 are pretty amazing partners to have in a fight." "Partners?" Kira asked hopefully. "Friends, at least," Jake said with a smile. "We can figure out the rest as we go." Nyx's mental voice touched his mind gently. "We have time. Your rescue ship will not come for 2 more weeks." 2 weeks to get to know each other properly, Luna said. 2 weeks to see if a human and 4 Vallani can really be whatever this is, Vera added. Jake looked at the 4 beautiful, intelligent, dangerous women who had spent a week chasing him through an alien forest as an elaborate form of flirting. "You know what?" he said. "This might actually be the start. Something incredible." As the stars came out in the purple sky above Valora Prime, 5 beings from 2 different worlds sat together by a crystal stream, beginning to understand that the best relationships often start with the most unexpected encounters. The next 2 weeks passed like a wonderful dream for Jake. Each day brought new discoveries about Vallani culture and his 4 unusual companions. He learned that Kira was not just a huntress but also a military strategist who helped protect Vallani cities. Luna was an explorer who had mapped more of their world than anyone else alive. Vera was a champion warrior who had never lost a single combat. And Nyx was a young genius whose telepathic abilities were stronger than most adults. They taught Jake their language, showed him their technology, and shared their history. In return, Jake told them about Earth, human customs, and military tactics they had never seen before. He fixed broken equipment in their village using human engineering techniques and helped solve problems that had puzzled the Vallani for years. But, most importantly, they became real friends. Jake learned that Kira loved strategic games and could beat him at chess-like puzzles 9 times out of 10. Luna enjoyed exploring and finding new places, always bringing back interesting plants or stones to show everyone. Vera had a gentle heart despite her warrior training, and she loved to cook elaborate meals for their group. Nyx was curious about everything and asked 1,000 questions about human emotions, dreams, and thoughts. And Jake was happier than he had been in years. On the morning of his 18th day on Valora Prime, Jake's wrist communicator suddenly came to life. "Corporal Mitchell, this is Captain Ross. Do you copy?" Jake stared at the device in surprise. His rescue team was 3 days early. "Captain Ross, yes, I copy. I am alive and well. Thank God, son. We have been searching for you since your beacon went silent. What is your status?" Jake looked around at his 4 companions who had gone very quiet. They all understood enough English to know what this meant. I am safe, sir. I made contact with the local population. They have been taking care of me." "Excellent. We have a lock on your signal. Extraction team will reach you in 4 hours. Be ready to move." "Yes, sir," Jake said automatically, then switched off the communicator. The silence that followed was painful. "So," Kira said quietly, "your people have come for you?" "Yes," Jake replied, not meeting her eyes. "I have to go. I am a soldier. I have duties, responsibilities." "We understand," Luna said, though her voice sounded sad. Do you? Nix asked suddenly, her telepathic senses picking up Jake's conflicted emotions. Because your mind feels like it. Is being torn in half. Jake sat down heavily on a fallen log. It is. I do not want to leave. These past 2 weeks have been the best time of my life. But I cannot just abandon my career, my planet, my people. No one is asking you to abandon anything, Vera said gently, but maybe there is another way. What do you mean? Kira stood up and began pacing, her strategic mind working. Jake, what if you did not have to choose between your old life and a new one? What if you could have both? I do not understand. Your military sent you here to observe us, correct? To learn about our capabilities and culture. Yes, but... And in 2 weeks you have learned more about us than any outsider in our history. You understand our technology, our society, our way of thinking. You have proven that humans and Villani can work together effectively. Jake began to see where she was going. You are suggesting I become some kind of ambassador? Why not? Luna said excitedly. You could be the bridge between our peoples. Live here part of the time, go back to Earth when needed. Bring our cultures together. Your leaders would need someone they trust to negotiate with us, Vera added. And our people would need someone who understands both sides. Nix nodded eagerly. It is perfect. You could have your duty and your happiness. Jake felt hope rising in his chest, but he forced himself to be realistic. It sounds wonderful, but I am just a corporal, nobody important. Why would my commanders listen to me? Because, Kira said with a smile, you are about to give them something incredible. Which is? An alliance with the Villani. Jake, our technology is centuries ahead of humanity in some areas. Our medical knowledge, our energy systems, our space travel capabilities. We have been isolated for too long, but you have shown us that other species can be trustworthy friends. You would share your technology with humans? Jake asked in amazement. With the right humans, Luna corrected. Humans who prove they can be trusted. Humans like you. When the rescue shuttle landed in the meadow 4 hours later, Captain Ross was surprised to find Jake waiting with 4 tall, elegant alien females. He was even more surprised when Jake calmly explained that he had negotiated humanity's first formal contact with an advanced alien civilization. These are my friends, Jake told his captain. Kira, Luna, Vera, and Nix. They represent the Villani people, and they want to establish diplomatic relations with Earth. Captain Ross, a veteran of 30 years in the military, had seen many strange things, but nothing had prepared him for this. Corporal Mitchell, are you telling me you have just solved humanity's biggest question? Whether we are alone in the universe? Yes, sir, and they want to help us. Trade technology, share knowledge, maybe even form a military alliance. But they will only negotiate through someone they trust. And they trust you? Jake looked at his 4 companions who were watching the conversation with interest. Nix's voice touched his mind gently. Tell him the truth, Jake. Tell him you have found something worth staying for. Sir, Jake said carefully, I request permission to remain on Valora Prime as humanity's first alien world liaison officer. I believe I can do more good here than anywhere else. Captain Ross looked at Jake, then at the 4 alien women, then back at Jake. He could see something in the young soldier's eyes that he had never seen before. Complete certainty about his purpose in life. Corporal, this is way above my authority level. I need to contact Earth Command immediately. The next few hours were a whirlwind of communication with Earth. Jake found himself talking to generals, admirals, and even government officials he had only seen on news broadcasts. Everyone wanted to know about the Villani, their technology, their intentions. Finally, Admiral Chen herself spoke to Jake directly. Corporal Mitchell, do you really believe these aliens can be trusted? Jake looked at Kira, who had spent 2 weeks teaching him strategy and honor, at Luna, who had shown him wonders beyond imagination, at Vera, who had protected him in battle, at Nix, who had opened her mind to his thoughts and shared her deepest feelings. Admiral, I would trust them with my life. In fact, I already have. And They are willing to share their advanced technology with us? Yes, ma'am, but only if we prove we can be worthy partners. They want to start slowly, with one human they know they can trust. You. Yes, ma'am. There was a long pause. Then Admiral Chen said, Corporal Mitchell, congratulations. You have just been promoted to lieutenant and assigned as Earth's first interstellar diplomatic liaison. Try not to start any wars. I will do my best, ma'am. As the rescue shuttle prepared to leave without him, Jake stood with his 4 companions watching the sunset over Valora Prime. He was wearing a new uniform, one that combined human military symbols with Villani ceremonial elements that Nix had designed for him. So, Vera said with a grin, ready to start your new job? Which job? Jake asked. Diplomat, translator, cultural ambassador, or boyfriend to 4 alien huntresses? All of them, Kira said, taking his hand. If you think you can handle it. Jake squeezed her hand and reached out to take Luna's and Vera's hands as well. Nix wrapped her arms around all of them from behind, her telepathic presence warm and welcoming in his mind. You know what? Jake said, looking up at the alien stars that were becoming familiar and dear to him. I think this is going to be the best adventure of my life. Our life, Nix corrected in his mind. From now on, it is our adventure together. 6 months later, the first joint human Villani research station was built in the Crystal Forest, where Jake had once hidden from his future wives. The station served as a center for technological exchange, cultural learning, and diplomatic meetings between the 2 species. Jake's reports back to Earth were filled with wonders. New medicines that could heal previously incurable diseases, energy systems that could power entire cities without pollution, and space travel technology that would let humans explore the galaxy safely. But his personal letters to his family and friends told a different story. They told of 4 remarkable women who challenged him every day to be smarter, braver, and more creative than he had ever been before. They told of a love that crossed species and planets, built on respect, adventure, and the simple joy of finding people who understood you completely. Lieutenant Jake Mitchell had crash-landed on an alien world expecting to spend 3 weeks hiding from hostile natives. Instead, he had found his true home, and the family he had never known he was looking for, and in the crystal forest of Valora Prime, where silver trees grew and 2 suns shone, 5 beings from different worlds continued to write the first chapter of a much larger story, the story of what could happen when different species chose cooperation over fear, understanding over prejudice, and love over loneliness. The hunt was over. The real adventure was just beginning.